بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على خير خلقه أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد
وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين، صلى الله عليك يا سيدي ويا مولاي يا أبا عبد الله، صلى الله عليك يا سيدي ويا مولاي يا ابن رسول الله. يا رحمة الله الواسعة ويا باب نجاة الأمة ويا عبرة كل مؤمن ومؤمنة، يا ليتنا كنا معكم سادتي فنفوز فوزا عظيما. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. فأقم وجهك للدين حنيفا فطرة الله التي فطر الناس عليها لا تبديل لخلق الله ذلك الدين القيم ولكن أكثر الناس لا يعلمون. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
There are some who say that the goal of religion is to make us morally conscious, to be aware of moral behavior. Hence Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam would state, إِنَّمَا بُعِثْتُ لِأُتَمِّمَ مَكَارِمَ الْأَخْلَاقِ. Surely I was sent to perfect morals and ethics. This is the reason behind Allah sending me as a messenger, as a prophet. And Allah Azza wa Jal would tell Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa وَإِنَّكَ لَعَلَى خُلُقٍ عَظِيمٍ. You have the greatest of all akhlaq and manners and morals. Hence, we can decipher from various verses and hadith that the purpose behind religion is to make us morally conscious, to make us moral human beings, meaning to learn to do the right thing. That is the purpose of religion. To tell us not to steal, not to take that which doesn't belong to us, to be truthful, to be honest, not to cheat, and so on and so forth. This is the main purpose behind religion. They say if this is the case, if the purpose behind religion is to make us morally conscious, we don't need religion. Because our logic, our reason tells us to be moral. We don't need religion to tell us not to steal and not to cheat and not to lie and to be honest and trustworthy. We don't need religion to tell us. We have an internal moral compass in each and every single one of us, whether we're a Muslim or a Christian or a Jew or a Buddhist or a Sikh or even an atheist. We already know that stealing is bad. We already know that telling the truth is good. We know that helping the elderly and helping the poor is something good, and taking people's money is bad. So what is the purpose of religion then? What does it add? It doesn't add anything, because we already know these things. We have a moral internal compass inside us. In fact, and this is the explanation of those who believe in the theory of evolution and Darwinists, they say we have altruistic genes. What are altruistic genes? Our forefathers, this is the explanation they give. They say our forefathers and the generations before us, when they did good, anything good, if they helped someone poor, if they helped an elderly cross the street, they helped an orphan, it felt good. It felt good. They had positive emotions. This lived in their genes. Those altruistic genes of feeling good when doing something positive, because they felt it, it was passed on from that generation to another generation, and so on and so forth. From generation to generation, these altruistic genes were passed on. It's like blue eyes in certain families. It's passed on from generation to generation. Being blonde, it's passed on from generation to generation. Altruistic genes were also passed on from generation to generation. That is why when we do good, we feel good. When you help someone poor, you feel good inside. That sense is passed on to your children, and from your children to your grandchildren, and so on and so forth. So you don't need, with altruistic genes, thanks to the theory of evolution and thanks to Darwin, we don't need religion to tell us to do good, because we all know that we have to do good. As Albert Einstein in 1930, he wrote, "A man's ethical behavior should be based effectually on sympathy, education, and social ties and needs. No religious basis is necessary." Basically what he's saying is that you don't need to be religious to be moral. You could be moral without being religious. You can be an atheist, but at the same time you're moral. There are many people who are not religious. They don't pray, they don't fast, they don't go for Ziyarat al-Arba'in, they don't visit Imam Hussein, but you find them, they don't cheat, they don't steal, they don't lie, they're honest, they're trustworthy, and hence they're moral. Do these people need religion? No, because they're moral by instincts. They were born this way. Even atheists, those who don't believe in God, can also be moral. There are a lot of atheists that don't steal. They don't cheat. They don't lie. They're good citizens. They're good human beings. You don't have to, and this is the theory. This is the theory, that you don't have to believe in God to be moral. You don't have to believe in heaven and hell, a punishment and a reward, to be moral. Even if there's no punishment, you shouldn't lie. You shouldn't cheat. You should be honest and trustworthy, even if heaven and hell did not exist. And at the end of the day, this is the message of religion. Religion wants us to be moral, even if heaven didn't exist, even if hellfire didn't exist. Religion wants us to be in that habit of being moral, even if there's no reward and no punishment. So some say, I can be moral without religion. These are things I know they're wrong. I don't need anyone else to teach me. Even if the Quran doesn't teach me these things, or the Prophet and Imams, they didn't teach me these things, I know these things. It's instinctive. It's in human nature to be moral, to do good and abstain from bad. And if the purpose of religion is to make us moral, why is it that we see a lot of religious people, they're not moral? We see a lot of religious people who lie, and they're dishonest, and they cheat. Some of them are con artists. They steal, they're corrupt. but they're religious. You see them, they pray, they fast, they wear hijab, they go to Hajj, they go to Umrah, they go for ziyarah, but there's no morality in their life. That means being religious is not equivalent to being moral. You could be moral without being religious. So at the end, if the point of religion is to get us to be moral, we could be moral without being religious. So why the need of being religious, praying and fasting and coming to the masjid and going to Hajj and Umrah and paying khums and zakat if the purpose is to be moral? If the purpose is to be moral, I could be moral without religion. This is what they say. Now, as for the answer, Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Yes, it's true. First of all, yes, it's true. All human beings have an internal moral compass. Even if you're an atheist, even if you don't believe in God, you know that killing is not correct. Stealing is not correct. Assaulting others is not correct. Using foul language is not correct. Being honest and trustworthy is something good. We all have an internal moral compass. However, the question is, who put this internal moral compass inside us? Where did it come from? By coincidence? We human beings, we know what is right and what is wrong. By coincidence? They say altruistic genes. Because of the theory of evolution, we felt good by doing good, and these genes were passed on to us. The question is, who put these genes in us? Who gave us these altruistic genes? Who made us feel good when we did good? Who put that moral compass in us? Allah Azza wa Jal. They say science, we say Allah. They say it was a coincidence, we say there's a designer. It's impossible for it to be coincidence. Impossible for it to be coincidence. Thus, those who deny religion and say there's no need for religion when we could be moral without religion, we say, but who put it? Who made you moral? Who taught you what is right and what is wrong? We believe this is Allah. That moral compass, it had a designer. It had someone who put it us in our system. Imagine if you buy a brand new car and it has a GPS system. You know the directions. How? You go to the car maker, you tell them, did you put this? They say, no. It's just there by coincidence. The car knows where to go. There's a navigation system inside the car, but we didn't put it there. It just happened to be there. Who buys this? Who believes this? We believe that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put a moral compass inside our system. Allah says, قَدْ أَفْلَحَ وَنَفْسٍ وَمَا سَوَّاهَا فَأَلْهَمَهَا فُجُورَهَا وَتَقْوَاهَا قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ زَكَّاهَا وَقَدْ خَابَ مَنْ دَسَّاهَا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the day that He created this nafs, He taught it what is good and what is bad. What is good for our soul and what is bad for our soul. What will grant us salvation and bring us to the right path, and what will lead us to destruction. فَأَلْهَمَهَا فُجُورَهَا وَتَقْوَاهَا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala He put in our system, in our biological system, that moral compass. That moral compass that they tell you it's from science, it's from genes, it's from Allah Azza wa Jal. And they still deny religion. Let me give you an example. Have you seen children when they break a plate or a glass and they think that they're going to be punished? You ask them, who broke the plate? Who broke the glass? And they lie, they say it's someone else. But when they lie and they speak the truth, is it the same? Or can you distinguish when a child lies and a child speaks the truth? Why? Because innately a child knows that lying is not a good thing. It's not a good quality. That's why they'll stutter, or they'll start smiling or laughing when they lie, because they know this is not correct. They should not be lying. You could easily call them out. You could easily call them out. Who told the child, a 2-year-old child or a 3-year-old child, you shouldn't be lying? Who? Parents? When a child is 2 years old, you tell them not to lie? No, because a child doesn't understand. Someone put this in his system, in her system, in that child's system, that you're not supposed to lie, that you're supposed to be honest. And as soon as they lie, you see it. You see it in their facial expressions, in their tone of voice. Immediately it shows. Thus Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put in us a moral compass. And that came from Allah, that came from religion. A man came to Imam Sadiq alayhi salam. He told him, Ya ibn Rasulullah, I'd like to ask you about singing. Is singing halal or is it haram? Look at the answer of Imam Sadiq alayhi salam. He told him, if on the day of judgment, I will have you answer. You decide whether singing is good or bad. Is it halal or is it haram? He told him, on the day of judgment, if all of haqq, what is truth, what is good, gathers on one side, and what is batil, what is false, all of falsehood and evil is gathered on another side, where do you think singing will fall in? With haqq or batil? What do you think? What do you say? He said, Ya Rasulullah, with batil. He said, there you go, you have the answer. You already have the answer. I don't need to answer you. I don't need to give you the answer. You have the answer. Where did this man learn? Because he has a moral compass. It was put in him from Allah Azza wa Jal. He knows what is right and what is wrong. So when they tell you that we don't need to be religious to be moral, I could be moral without religion, you ask them, who taught you to be moral? Where did you learn how to be moral from? Who put this in your system? Sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. The second answer, my dear friends, is that we tell them, who told you that the role of religion is restricted in teaching us morality? Because they say the only purpose behind religion is that it teaches us how to be moral human beings. It teaches us morality. Who told you that? Who told you that? If this was the only purpose behind religion, then yes. You could say religion no longer serves a purpose because we could be moral without religion. But religion has a much bigger role. Religion has a much bigger purpose. Religion fills an intellectual and spiritual gap. We human beings, we have a need. We have a need. An intellectual need and a spiritual need. And the only thing that can fulfill this gap, this need, is religion. Nothing else can. Because we human beings, when we come into this life, and as we grow older, we start asking serious questions, real questions. Where did I come from? And where am I going? Where am I now? What is this life? Is it the beginning? Is it the end? Is there something else? What happens to me after I die? When I lose a father, a mother, and we put them under the ground, is this it? Is this the last meeting? What happens to my actions? What happens to... There's so many questions. We have so many questions as human beings. We should be inquisitive. We think of all these questions. Who answers these questions for us? Which philosopher? Aristotle? Plato? Who? Socrates? Who can answer these questions? If these are mere mortals, mere human beings who are living in this life, they haven't gone to another life for them to tell us that there's another life waiting or there's no life waiting for us. Who can answer this question? Who other than religion? Religion gives us guidance. Religion fulfills this intellectual gap, this intellectual need and spiritual need. Religion gives us a sense of direction. You see, the Quran tells us that we human beings, we are God's representatives on earth. وَإِذْ قَالَ رَبُّكَ لِلْمَلَائِكَةِ إِنِّي جَاعِلٌ فِي الْأَرْضِ خَلِيفَةً. This verse is not just talking about Adam alayhi salam. When Allah created Adam and He put him on earth as His representative. No. Adam, obviously, he's the first human being and the first representative of Allah on earth. But you and I, we're also representatives. This is our goal. This is our mission in life. The next time that you think, what am I doing here? What is my purpose in life? Allah tells us that you, me, you, all of us, we are representing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on this earth. We are representing Him. We are fulfilling His mission and His vision. Next time you're bored, next time you're depressed, next time you don't know what to do, remember that you are Allah's representative on earth. From the moment that you were born until the moment that we leave, we are representing Allah and His desire, His will, His mission in life. That's our goal. You should be very busy. There's no time to be bored or depressed when you're God's representative on earth. Imagine if you are elected as a Congress member representing Columbus in the US Congress. Would you have time to be bored? On the weekends, in the afternoons, would you say, I don't know what to do, I'm bored, I want to go out? You wouldn't have time because you're representing a city in the US Congress. You're representing your people who elected you in the US Congress. Now imagine if Allah tells you that you are representing me on earth. Do you have time to be bored and to sit idly and not know what to do? Who tells us this? Who tells us this mission other than religion? It is religion that teaches us this and gives us a sense of direction. The Quran tells us that it is our job to fulfill God's justice on earth. That is our mission. لَقَدْ أَرْسَلْنَا رُسُلَنَا بِالْبَيِّنَاتِ وَأَنزَلْنَا مَعَهُمُ الْكِتَابَ وَالْمِيزَانَ لِيَقُومَ النَّاسُ بِالْقِسْطِ. Allah sent prophets and messengers and books and all of these divine books for one purpose, so that we fulfill justice. We fulfill justice on earth. Only religion teaches us this. Religion teaches us that this life is not the end, and this life is only a transit to another life. It's only a bridge. Al-dunya qantara. This is only a bridge. There's another life waiting for us. We're only here temporary. The Quran reminds us that not to fulfill, not to invest in a place where you will only spend a couple of years and then you will go. Have you ever heard of a person that stays at a hotel for 5 nights but goes and buys a new bed for his hotel room? Or a big screen TV, or a new chair, or a new desk? Have you heard of someone like this? You should, because it's all about us. This is us. No one would buy new furniture and furnish a hotel room. Why? Because first of all, it doesn't belong to you. And second of all, it's not worth it. You're only there for a couple of days, maybe a couple of hours, and you're leaving. But this is what we do in dunya. We invest and we furnish this dunya while we have homes in the akhirah that are unfurnished. We leave them empty. We human beings, we're illogical. This is what religion tells us. Religion answers questions that no one else can. That is the purpose of religion. It gives us a sense of purpose, a sense of direction, a sense of guidance. That is why a lot of people here in the West, they live economically, they live prosperously. They live in nice homes, they drive nice cars. Financially, they're well. But spiritually, psychologically, mentally, a lot of people are not well. That is why here in the United States of America, the most on-demand medicine is what? Antidepressants. Antidepressants. Why? Because they've lost their sense of direction. What are they doing in life? Is life just about making money? How much money do you want to make? How much money do you want to make? I remember I had a friend and said, my father once taught me a life lesson. He said, my father poured me food in my plate and I ate. And then he poured me more food in my plate and he told me to eat. I told him, but I ate. He said, no, eat. I told him, but I can't. He poured even more food and he told me, you have to eat. I told him, but I can't. I can only eat 1 plateful. I can't eat more. He said, the next time when you're making money, remember, at the end of the day, you can only eat 1 plate, not more. You can't eat more. The rest, you're only saving for others. This is what you need. Who teaches us this? other than faith and religion. That is why a lot of people here, they're lost because they're far from religion. They belittle religion. They don't take religion seriously. And that's why they're lost. Either they fall into depression, or some opt to suicide, or they live depressing lives far from Allah. Sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Thirdly, yes, we human beings, we know morality. We have an internal moral compass. We know what is right and what is wrong. We know the things that we have to do, and we know the things that we should not do. But what reinforces us to do the things that we have to and not do the things that we shouldn't? What? It is religion. It is religion. We might be moral in knowing how to be moral, but what makes sure that we stick to morality and we remain moral? It is religion. Because religion teaches us about reward and punishment. Religion teaches us about heaven and hell. Knowing not to lie and be honest and be trustworthy is not enough. You need a bigger incentive. You need to know that if you do lie and cheat and steal and murder, and there's a hellfire waiting. There's a hellfire waiting. Who teaches us this? Religion. Just by knowing that we need to be good, does that make us good? No. A lot of people choose not to. They know what to do. They know the right thing to do, and they know that certain things are bad. They shouldn't be doing them, but they go ahead and do it. Why? Because there's no incentive. They don't believe in a reward and punishment. They don't believe in heaven and hell. Religion comes and says, if you're moral, there's heaven for you. If you're immoral, there's hellfire for you. And that's what keeps us in check. That's what keeps us moral. That's the difference. Al-Hurr ibn Yazid al-Riyahi, what made him switch? You know, there's two individuals in Ashura. They were going in two opposite directions. In two opposite directions. But they both made a U-turn. They both made a U-turn. Umar ibn Sa'd was a cousin of Imam Hussein A.S, a cousin of Amir al-Mu'mineen. He was going in the right direction. He was going in the right direction. But in the last moments of his life, he made a U-turn and he went in the wrong direction. Al-Hurr ibn Yazid al-Riyahi was completely going in the opposite direction. He was going in the direction of hellfire. He was the one that stopped Imam Hussein in the middle of the desert, and he got Imam Hussein to come to Karbala. It was all because of Al-Hurr. But in the final moments of his life, on the last day of his life, on the day of Ashura, he made a switch. He made a life-changing decision. He stood in the middle of the battlefield. His comrades, they told him, what are you doing? And he kept on going closer to the camp of Imam Hussein A.S. Slowly but surely, he was going towards the camp of Imam Hussein. One of his comrades told him, what are you doing? Standing in the middle of the battlefield thinking, what are you doing? He said, I see myself making a decision between heaven and hell. أرى نفسي مخيرة بين الجنة والنار ووالله لن أختار على الجنة شيئا. I see myself making a decision between heaven and hell. It was the fear of hellfire that got Al-Hurr ibn Yazid al-Riyahi to go towards Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Otherwise, you could have been with all the rest. With Umar ibn Sa'd, with Ubaydullah ibn Ziyad, and he would have received handsome rewards. But he didn't. Because it was the fear of hellfire that dragged him towards Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Al-Imam Zayn al-Abidin one day was praying. He was praying. A fire sets out in his house. But he continues to pray. Imagine. For you and me, if our phone calls, we break our salah and we go and answer the call. We answer the call. Imam Zayn al-Abidin, a fire sets out in his house and he continues to pray. And he remains in his sujood. When they told him after salah, they told him, Ya Rasulullah, did you not see the fire? Did you not see your house was on fire? He said, I did. But my mind was busy with another fire. There's a greater fire that I was thinking of. These were the Imams. The Imams would think about hellfire. And Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam in Dua Arafah, this masterpiece, this beautiful dua. I think that we don't have any other dua from of course all of the du'as of Ahlulbayt are beautiful, but the dua of Imam Hussein on the day of Arafah is on another level. After speaking with Allah so intimately, so beautifully, he reaches this point. وَأَسْأَلُكَ اللَّهُمَّ حَاجَتِي. And Allah, I ask you for one thing, and one thing only. وَأَسْأَلُكَ اللَّهُمَّ حَاجَتِي الَّتِي إِنْ أَعْطَيْتَنِيهَا لَمْ يَضُرَّنِي مَا مَنَعْتَنِي وَإِنْ مَنَعْتَنِيهَا لَمْ يَنْفَعْنِي مَا أَعْطَيْتَنِي أَسْأَلُكَ فَكَاكَ رَقَبَتِي مِنَ النَّارِ. Oh Allah, and I ask you my only desire, my number one desire, that if you give it to me, if you don't give me anything else, it wouldn't harm me. But if you don't give it to me, and you give me everything else, none of it would benefit me. What is that? To release me from hellfire. To release me from hellfire. This is Islam. This is religion. It teaches us that there is a heaven and there is a hell, and these are real. These are not just fake stories. Heaven really exists and hell really exists. For those that do good, there's heaven, and for those that do evil, there's hellfire. So knowing to do the right thing is not enough. We need an incentive. Let me ask you, is it safe to drive 90 miles per hour on a freeway? What do you say? 90 miles per hour on the freeway. Is it safe? It's not safe. You could get killed. And you can get others killed as well. But do people drive 90 miles per hour or not? They do. What stops people from driving 90 miles per hour? Police officers. Police tickets. Can the government could have simply said, yes, we could rely on people's knowledge. It is a given, it's obvious that you should not be driving 90 miles per hour, and that's it. But did they rely on people's driving compass, so to speak? Driving laws? Because people know driving laws, that you have to stop at a stoplight, you have to stop at a stop sign, and so on and so forth. They say people, they know these laws, that's it. We don't need to have police officers on the roads. Was that enough? No. That's why there's police officers. To make sure that we apply these laws. Knowing them is not enough. That's why there's police tickets. If there were police tickets, we'd be speeding. We'd be crossing red lights. No one would stop at a stop sign. Who wants to stop at a stop sign? We'd all pass. But I know I'll get a ticket. That's what gets me to stop at a stop sign. We need incentive. Have you seen some countries when there were riots? I remember in Los Angeles, 1992. I don't know how many of you remember the Los Angeles riots, the Rodney King beatings. Remember when Rodney King, a black man, was stopped by 5 police officers, white 5 police officers, and they beat him. I don't remember if he died or not, but there were riots in Los Angeles. There were major riots. Now, during these riots, what happened? Vandalization. A lot of shops were vandalized. A lot of malls were vandalized. Why? Because there's no police officers. During riots, there's no police. And I remember a couple of years ago in Ramadan, I was in the UK, I was in the city of Birmingham. I was lecturing. I believe it was 2011, and there were riots all over the UK. There were riots, and there were vandalization as well. People were vandalizing stores. Why? Because they could get away with it. They didn't have a moral compass. Their moral compass didn't tell them you shouldn't steal, you shouldn't take. Of course it did. But it's because they thought they could get away with it. They thought they could get away with it. They went and they stole. Religion gives us incentive that there's heaven and there's hell. Sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Also, my dear friends, number 4. Yes, we human beings can be moral without religion. And we do have a moral compass. However, religion gives us fixed moral standards. If it's up to you and me, we'll bend the rules. Morality becomes subjective. So, one principle at some time, it's good, but at another time it becomes bad. In one country, it's good, and in another country, it's bad. Religion says no, no. Morality is fixed. There's a fixed standard that you cannot play with. If Allah had left morality up to us, we change morality according to our circumstances, according to our needs, according to our interests. But this is not how morality works. Morality is fixed. God's laws, God's moral laws are fixed. There are a fixed standard. When we think that morality is subjective, morality begins to erode, and this is what happens in the West. In the West, morality is subjective. Something that was good today might not be good tomorrow. Something that was good last year might be bad this year. Let me give you an example. Islam teaches us respect for parents no matter what. Always respect for parents. Always obedience for parents, no matter what, even if they're not Muslim, even if they're atheists. Of course, obedience in the disobedience of Allah is not allowed. But other than that, respect. وَقَضَى رَبُّكَ أَلَّا تَعْبُدُوا إِلَّا إِيَّاهُ وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا إِمَّا يَبْلُغَنَّ عِنْدَكَ الْكِبَرَ أَحَدُهُمَا أَوْ كِلَاهُمَا فلا تقل لهما أف ولا تنهرهما وقل لهما قولا كريما. Allah has decreed that you will only worship Him and respect for parents. وَقَضَى رَبُّكَ أَلَّا تَعْبُدُوا إِلَّا إِيَّاهُ وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا. Kindness to parents. This is a fixed standard in Islam. Your parents are Muslim, Christian, Jewish, Buddhist, Sikh, atheist. You have to have respect for them and to show kindness for them. But here in the West, what do they tell us? They tell us, be good to your parents if they're good to you. But if your parents don't love you, or they don't spend on you, or they stop spending on you, then you could move out. And you don't need to call them. Calling them once during Christmas, and if you have time during Thanksgiving, that's enough. This is what they teach. There's no kindness to parents. There's no respect for parents. Is it the same that we believe in Islam? No. Because in Islam there's fixed morality. These moral standards are fixed no matter what. Whether you live in India or in China or in Iraq or in the United States of America. Respect for parents remains as a standard. Not like here. That's why here there's a Father's Day and a Mother's Day. Because parents are so neglected that they had to choose a day out of the year for mothers and for fathers. In Islam, every day is a Mother's Day. In Islam, every day is a Father's Day. We don't have a special day for mothers and fathers because every day we're supposed to make them feel special. That's when morals are fixed. Let me give you another example. Here in the West, they teach us about individualism. What's individualism? Pursuit of personal happiness. The world revolves around you and your happiness. You have the right to be happy, even if you make others unhappy. You should be happy. You have the right to be happy. That's why you can marry whoever you want, even if your parents disagree. You can dress however you want. You could dye your hair however you want. You could drive however you want. Why? Because it's your life. It's pursuit of your happiness. That's their moral standard. In Islam, we learn that to be happy, you have to make others happy in your life. You cannot be happy when everyone else in your life is miserable. You make your mother miserable, and your father miserable, and your wife is miserable, and your husband is miserable, and your children are miserable, but you're happy. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. That's fake happiness. That's not true happiness. Happiness is when you make others in your life happy. That's a fixed standard. That's a fixed moral standard that we learn in Islam. Another example. Islam teaches us that killing a human soul is murder, period. To take away a human life is murder, no matter who that person is. Yes, unless that person deserves to be killed like a killer. A killer receives the death penalty. Other than that, taking away a human soul is murder. In the West, they tell you, yes, you should not take a human life. It's not good to take a human life. Unless you're a mother and you have a fetus and you'd like to perform abortion, then the choice is yours. Why? Because it's your body. My choice, my body. The choice is yours, and it wouldn't be murder. You see? You see how moral standards change? Because they decide what is moral and what is not moral. This is not how it works. Allah says, I choose for you what is moral because I know best, not you. You don't base morality based on your interests. When you're not pregnant, it's murder. When you're pregnant and this pregnancy becomes an inconvenience for you, no, you could take life away and it's not murder. Because why? Because it's your body. It's your body, your choice. You see how morality changes if we keep it to subjectivity. If we let humans choose, religion chooses for us. Religion tells us what is moral because those moral standards will stick. Sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. And finally, number 5, even if we know morality and we have an internal moral compass, religion provides us with role models. You see, we human beings, we live off of role models. We need role models. Even at work, when you achieve high, I'm sure there's a co-worker, a friend, a boss that you're trying to emulate. You're trying to imitate. Why do you want to become a doctor? Because there's a successful doctor in your family. Maybe there's a successful doctor in your community that you'd like to emulate. You'd like to become like. We learn from role models and everything that we do, whether it's good or it's bad, a lot of our behavior comes from role models. Islam, my dear friends, provided us with role models. Knowing how to be moral is not enough. To have good moral role models is important. The Quran tells us, لَقَدْ كَانَ لَكُمْ فِي رَسُولِ اللَّهِ أُسْوَةٌ حَسَنَةٌ. We put in Rasulullah a good example. Rasulullah is a good example for you. He's a role model for you. Religion provides us this. No one else provides us with role models other than Islam, other than the Quran, other than religion. You see, look how great Allah is and how passionate He is. Allah is so passionate. وَنَحْنُ أَقْرَبُ إِلَيْهِ مِنْ حَبْلِ الْوَرِيدِ. Allah is so close to us. He's so merciful and passionate. Allah could have easily sent us the Quran and said, go and implement the Quran. That's it. No, it was not enough. You know, sometimes when you're trying to learn something, there's tutorials. You go on YouTube, there's a tutorial. They teach you how to operate a gadget, a phone, an iPad with a tutorial. You see, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He sent us the Quran, He gave us a tutorial. That tutorial is Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. That tutorial, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Those tutorials are the Imams, are the Ahlulbayt, those who implemented the Quran. He provided us with role models, people who lived a life of morality, who had fixed moral standards. Their entire being was moral. It wasn't enough that Allah sends us the Quran, a book that teaches us morality, but He provided us with role models. So that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the Day of Judgment, He will tell us that I gave you everything that you needed. What was your excuse? You needed teachings? I sent you the Quran. You needed role models? I sent you the Ahlul Bayt. What was your excuse for not being moral? For doing bad and not doing good? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala completed all of His bounties and blessings upon us. Yes, He gave us role models like Imam Hasan A.S. He gave us role models like Imam Hussein A.S. Can you imagine for a second, I want you to close your eyes and imagine a life without Imam Hussein. Imagine if you did not know Imam Hussein A.S. What type of life would that be? Imagine if we didn't know Imam Hussein and about his sacrifice, and we had never heard of Karbala, and we had never heard of Ashura. What type of life would that be? Sometimes I look at our fellow Muslims, fellow brothers and sisters from other schools of thought, and they have nothing to do with Imam Hussein. And I say, what type of life are you living? What type of life are you living? Who is your role model? Who is your ultimate role model? Who is your guide in life? when you don't believe in Imam Hussein and you don't accept him as an ordained Imam, who's your role model? Who are you following? Who are you emulating? Imagine a life. Can you even imagine a life without Imam Hussein alayhi salam? I can't imagine such a life. I can't imagine such a life. And that is exactly what his followers told him on the night of Ashura. When Imam Hussein alayhi salam turned off the candle, and he told his companions, إِنَّ هَذَا اللَّيْلِ قَدْ غَشِيَكُمْ فَاتَّخَذُوهُ جَمَلًا, that the night is dark, it's pitch dark. If you'd like to leave, you could leave. And then he turned on the candle again, and he saw all of his companions sitting. They didn't move at all. He told them, you didn't go? You didn't go? They told him, Ya ibn Rasulullah, you want us? You want to die and you want us to live after you? A life after you? La wallah. How can we allow you to die and we live after you? What is the meaning of life after you? Ya ibn Rasulullah. نعيش بعدك وما معنى الحياة. And here Zuhair ibn al-Qayn, he stands, he said, Ya ibn Rasulullah, if they kill me and they behead me and they cut me into pieces and they burn my corpse and they turn me into ashes and they scatter my ashes in the wind, and if I were to be resurrected again and they cut me into pieces and they burn my body and they scatter my ashes, if this happens to me 70 times and I'm given the choice to leave you or for this to happen, I would choose this. I would not abandon you, Ibn Rasulullah. These were the companions of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Now, yesterday we mentioned how Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam buried his brother Imam al-Hasan. It was so painful for the Imam to bury his older brother, and for the circumstance, how it happened, how Imam al-Hasan was poisoned. He was fed with the worst kind of poison that cut up his liver. The Imam was vomiting his liver. His sister Zainab comes to him, he hides the bucket. He doesn't want his sister to see. And then his body is taken to the house of Rasulullah. Imam al-Hussein is witnessing all of this. He is forbidden from being buried next to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. How painful was that? And then for the body of Imam al-Hasan to be shot with 72 arrows. And Imam Hussein counted each and every single one. Each and every single one of those arrows. How painful was it? And for him to put his brother in his grave and pour the dust on the grave of Imam al-Hasan, how painful was it? It was so very painful. Yet Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam had another brother standing next to him, Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas. As long as al-Abbas was with Imam Hussein could still stand on his feet. He could still stand proudly because al-Abbas was standing next to him, standing with him bravely, courageously. Imam Hussein felt he was strong, his back was strong as long as al-Abbas was remaining. لكن ساعد الله قلبك يا أبا عبد الله. When your brother Abbas called out, أخي أبا عبد الله أدرك أخاك. When al-Abbas falls from his horse with his hands cut off, with an arrow embedded in his eye, with the water jug fallen on the ground, al-Abbas falls flat on his face and he shouts, أخي أدرك أخاك. Imam Hussein rushes to his brother Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas. He sees the two hands on the ground, the flag of Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas on the ground. The water skin is on the ground, and then he saw al-Abbas lying on his back, an arrow in his eye. He sits next to him. Al-Abbas thinks that this is one of the enemies about to finish him off. He tells him, Ya hada uqsimu alayk, I swear upon Allah, do not finish me until my brother Hussein comes to me. Imam Hussein tells him, Akhi, ana akhuka al-Hussein. My brother, this is Hussein. Akhi, al-an inkasara dhahri. وقلت حيلتي وشمت بي عدوي. Abbas, my back is broken, now my enemies are rejoicing. يا خويا انكسر ظهري ولا اقدر اقوم، وصرت مركز يا خويا الكل الهموم. يا خويا استوحدوني عقبك القوم، ولا واحد علي بعد ينغر. يا خويا ساوي قعبيتي علي، يا خويا ساعدوي شمت بي. يا ابو فاضل يا خويا قطعت بي. لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي